any old cans. Maybe some, oh my gosh. What's happening, Boot Junkies? Yeah, that's close. What's happening, Boot Junkies? Mike Delgadio here, back with another video on home studio setup for Voiceover. And today we're going to do a little bit something different. We don't have a microphone review, although this is a microphone you've never seen before. This is a Michael Jolie modified NT1A that I paid for. It's mine. That we're going to review eventually, but I've been testing it out, and boy, is it sweet. But we're not talking about microphones today. Today, we're going to talk about cans. I've had a number of people ask me, like, how do I select the headphones? What should I look for in headphones? So I'm not going to give you a specific pair of headphones to evaluate. We're going to do a bunch of that, I think, because I have made investments. I don't know if you can see it, but I've bought a ton of headphones. I've got a little bit of a headphone problem. So I've bought a whole bunch of headphones, and I'm going to try and give you a way to listen to all of these headphones. But before we get to any of that about how they sound, there's a couple of considerations when you're selecting headphones. And the title of this is the two pairs of headphones you need for VoiceOver. And it's really two different scenarios for which you will need headphones. They could end up being the same physical device, the same pair of headphones, but there's two different, at least for me, two different sets of considerations when selecting headphones. There's the headphones I need in the booth, and there's the headphones I need when I'm editing. They can be the same pair, but there's different considerations for each. And let's talk about what those two situations are. And in the context of that, I'll talk to you about a bunch of different headphones and different considerations to make. When I'm recording, when I'm in the booth, there's two factors that I consider first when selecting headphones. I look for, in the booth, I touched the mic, sorry. I look for comfort and sound isolation. Those are my two primary considerations when selecting the headphones for my booth. Comfort is prime. It's the number one biggest consideration for me when I'm in here. When I'm in here, I could be in here for hours at a time, and these might be on my ears for hours at a time. So they need to be comfortable. If they get painful the longer I go, my performance is not going to be as good. They'll be distracting. They'll make me want to leave the booth, which is the last thing I want to do. I don't want to leave the booth because of discomfort. So they need to be comfortable. At the same time, they also need to keep the sound inside the headphones so that it doesn't interfere in the microphone. If the sound gets out of the headphones, the microphone is a sensitive device and it will hear your headphones. It will sound like a delay. It will sound like comb filtering. It will make the sound funny. It sounds bad. So the headphones need to keep the sound in. That's the second biggest consideration. For me, third is the headphones need to be quiet on their own. And what I mean by that is the cable can't make noise. The headphones themselves shouldn't creak. They need to be sound, durable devices so that they don't make noises on their own that will get into the microphone. Nobody wants to have a perfect take that's ruined by a squeaky set of headphones. Fourth is how they sound. For me in the booth, I just need to hear myself close enough. It doesn't need to be high fidelity. It doesn't need to be perfect. The sound quality, while I want it to sound good because that will be less fatiguing over time, its truth in representation, its high fidelity is of lower importance than being comfortable. I'd rather have a comfortable set of cans that I could wear for a long time, even if they don't sound perfect, than ones that are the absolute highest fidelity but make my ears or jaw or neck hurt. I hope that makes sense. When I'm in the control room, though, when I'm editing this stuff that I'm working on, in that case, I do want a set of high fidelity headphones. I want them to sound as close to the truth as I can make it. I still want them to be comfortable because I will be editing for at least as long as as I am recording, but it's easier to take a break in the control room, to take them off, to get up, to walk around. I don't need to stay in performance mode. I can go, and that can happen when I'm editing. That can be different. So I cherish the sound quality of the headphones first and foremost, with comfort being the second most important things. And sound isolation is not a consideration at all when I'm editing because there's not a hot mic in front of me. So it doesn't necessarily matter. I like to have headphones that are comfortable, that fairly closely match what I hear in my monitors, the physical speakers, as opposed to what's in my headphones. Now, as I said, that can still be the same physical device. You may be unplugging from your booth and going over to your editing computer and do it. Your editing station and your booth might all be the same location, right? I recognize that. So you may have one pair of cans that covers them both. But let's talk about the different kinds of headphones and some of the different options that you have available to you that may help inform the decision that you're making. The headphones that I've used for a long, long time in my booth, I would normally say, go buy these. But they've been discontinued. They don't actually make these anymore. You may be able to find them secondhand. You may be able to find them like on eBay as new old stock. The headphones that I've worn for many years in my booth is the Sennheiser HD 380 Pros. But they've been disconnected. They've been discontinued. So I've been on the hunt, and I have bought, I don't know if you can see it, but there's just 5 or 6 pair of headphones here. I've got another 10 pair out there. There's a whole bunch of headphones that I've purchased so that I can try and make an informed decision when people ask me sort of what's the state of headphones at the moment. So let's talk about the different kinds of headphones that you'll encounter. And there's two different important factors to keep in mind. One is the type of enclosure that's on your ears. And there's how those enclosures actually clamp onto your head. Those are the two big ones. There's a bunch of other factors, and you can really go down the headphone rabbit hole, as I have done many times. You can really go down the headphone rabbit hole, but I'm going to cover just the high level of it because I get a lot of questions of, like, what do I look for in headphones? Okay, so let's talk about the different kinds. And let's talk about first the enclosures themselves and how they clamp onto your head. There's essentially, for being in the booth, there's essentially 3 different kinds of enclosures to consider on how they clamp to your head. The first one is the kinds that I'm wearing right now, and this is called a over-the-ear headphone. And what that means, I'll show you. What that means is that the padding itself and the inside of the headphones don't actually make contact with your ear at all. They rest on your skull and jaw. They go around over the ear so that they shouldn't actually make any contact with your ear itself. The cups are giant. And so for my big old man ears, this padding, this ring, never actually makes contact with my ears. So this is called an over-the-ear headphones. Next, you'll see the next style talked about a lot for recording, and this is called an on-ear headphone. This type, the cups are smaller, and when you're wearing them, do I have my left and right? So when you're wearing them, the pads themselves actually rest on your ear. And so when you're wearing them, they rest on your ear. They're a little bit smaller, and it's just a different style. Some people like these, some people don't. I personally do not care for the on-ear headphones nearly as much because I do find them painful in the long run, or they take a long time to break in. I'm sure there will be people out there that say, man, I've had my MDR 7506s for years and I love them. I wouldn't trade them for the world. It's probably because they're broken in. When I wear these MDR 7506s from Sony, Great headphones. But when I wear them, I find that this little bump right here on my ear gets sore. That happens to be where the clamping pressure is on these, and it pushes against it, and over time that gets sore. You'll see people talk about the Audio-Technica AT-HM50Xs, right? You see millions of reviews for these, and the sound quality of these headphones is outstanding. They sit on the ear, and I find that these are a slightly different shape, and these make my ears sore here. I wore these, I was on the train for about 4 hours yesterday, and I wore these, and by the end of the train ride, this part of my ear was so sore, because I hadn't worn these in a while. It was so sore. That's hard. The fidelity, the sound quality of these is outstanding, but they're on ear. The third style that's for recording are really ones that you'll see on the stage, or you might see some people recording with them. They are in-ear monitors. So these are like typical earbuds, and these actually fit into your ear canal. And these are really, really a matter of personal preference. The pair that I'm showing you here, these happen to be the Shure 215s. And I find these incredibly, incredibly comfortable. And I can wear these for literally hours at a time. But they do take some getting used to learn how to fit them. They take a little bit of manipulation to get it so that the hook wraps around your ear perfectly. But once you can get these fitted, I find these particular ones incredibly comfortable. A little plug for the Shure 215s. This pair of headphones I have worn probably every single week for the last, 4 years. These have been my travel headphones for the entirety and before I had my YouTube channel. If you go way back to the beginning of my YouTube channel where I did a video about a booth in the car, where I sat in my car and did recording, you'll see me wearing these headphones. It's these headphones, these exact ones. Incredibly durable. The 215s for $99. They're great. But these go in your ear canal. You can usually get, and if you're familiar with these, with this style, you can get different tips for them. These happen to be foam, and you squish them a little bit, and you put them in, and they'll expand into your ear canal, and they really can make a good fit. So there you have the different enclosures: around the ear, on the ear, or in the ear. Any of those are valid options, and it really comes down to what your comfort level is. Me personally, when I'm in the booth, I like the over the ears. I don't want anything touching my ears because they will get sore. All these bumps and ridges, for me, they get sore over time. Okay, so that's factor number one, comfort. The second part is sound isolation, and that can come in typically how the shell of the headphone itself is constructed. So let's go back to these Sennheisers, my HD380 Pros. You'll see on the back that these are hard plastic. These are called a closed back headphone, which means there's no perforations, there are no holes. The sound does not emanate very well out the back of the headphones. So when you put these on, if there's no source, these should actually make your voice very muffled. It should sound very, very muffled in your headphones, because the sound of your voice should not be getting in, and the sound that's in your headphones should not be getting out. They should form a fairly tight seal around your ears to keep the sound from coming out and leaking out of your headphones and into the microphone. So in the booth, you'll typically look for a closed back. You can also use the in-ear monitors because these are sound isolating. These Shure 215s are actually labeled as sound isolating. These keep the sound of the music in your ears or your voice in the ears, and nothing gets out. And they're even better than these other headphones at keeping outside noise from getting in. So the in-ears, as long as they have a foam tip, they just don't rest in your ear like those iPod or AirPods or whatever they are. Those just rest in your ear, and those will leak out a lot of sounds. If you've ever sat next to somebody on the bus and you can hear their headphones, that sound leaks out. Having ones that have the comply, the foam tips, they really can make the sound not leak out. On the other hand, in the booth, you don't want something that's got an open back, right? So if you look at these headphones, you can see that you can actually see the back of the driver itself. So the sound that's emanating into your headphones is also emanating out the back. This is called an open back style, and these are not appropriate when your mic is hot because the microphone will hear that sound very, very clearly. These are the Sennheiser HD6XXs from Mastrop. These are really wonderful, wonderful headphones, but they're not appropriate in front of the microphone. Open back. You'll also see these a very popular pair of headphones because they're very, for their quality, they're very inexpensive. You'll also see some people talking about like the Grado. These are the SR60s. These are my vintage ones. These are probably at least 20 years old, but they've essentially been unchanged. These are also open back, and you can see that there's perforations on the back that let the sound leak out. They're not appropriate in the booth. Finally, there's a combination that are called semi-open. So these are the Beyerdynamic DT880 Pros, and these also have a perforation. So these are a bit of a hybrid between the open back and the closed back. But in my opinion, these are still inappropriate for being in front of the microphone because sound can leak out in the open back nature of it. So that's a roundup of the sound isolation feature and the construction of it. So how they fit and how much sound gets out. There are other things to think about when you're making a headphone selection, and really there's only one more factor that I think is really important, and I think I have one that talks about it. The last thing to think about when you're making a headphone selection is their impedance rating, and that's really to make sure that they go loud enough for you. Impedance is a whole thing, and you can read, there's like massive tomes about impedance. But for our purposes, at the beginner entry level, if you're asking about headphones, you'll find a number in the specifications that's listed in ohms. Might be an omega sign, but there will be a number that's rated in ohms on the headphones. And for the beginner, the impedance rating is how loud they'll go. And it's a gross oversimplification. So if you know about impedance, you know it's way more than that. But for many people, if they're listening back and they want to use these headphones also with their phone or just for recreational listening using their computer, and they'd like something high fidelity, the amplifiers that are generally in the consumer grade equipment generally won't have enough power to power some of the real high quality studio headphones that are high impedance. So if you get a low impedance, the lower that number, so 32 ohms is nice and low, your phone, given if it still has a headphone jack, will have enough power to let you hear it. Your entry level prosumer interface will still let you hear it. You'll be able to, without having to turn it all the way up. Even if you turn it all the way up, sometimes they won't go loud enough. Many studios will have higher impedance headphones. They might be 250 or 300 ohms or even 600 ohms. And those they require way more oomph from the amplifier to make them go. Now, when you get into real mixing and mastering, those high impedance headphones and the high power amplifiers, they can make for more accurate sound reproduction. But you have to know that your amplifier can drive that, and you'll know that those are that those are headphones that you're going to use with that amplifier. You won't be able to also use them on your more recreational or listening for pleasure devices. So I hope that helps give a roundup. In this video, we're not going to talk specifically about fidelity. We're going to have a series of videos that helps give you a sense of how the headphones color the sound. We'll be doing comparisons between raw audio and how the headphones themselves color or change the sound. But ideally, your headphones, when you're listening for editing purposes, you want to make sure that it's as close to what you heard going into the microphone as best you can, and getting to know the sound profile of the headphones themselves so that you can make well-educated decisions about how you're going to alter that sound, if you're going to alter it. If you're going to EQ the sound to remove bassiness or add treble, you have to know that it's not a shortcoming of the headphones themselves that are causing you to make that change. That's really where the fidelity comes in. Every headphones, to my experience, every pair of headphones has some type of sound signature. They will change something between what I think I heard going in and when I compare between them. I don't know which headphones themselves are true or truthful or flat. I think they all have a little bit of a sound signature. So there you have it. A basic roundup of headphones. I'll have links to all of these headphones if you're interested in them. I've got just a whole bunch. I'm as much of a microphone junkie. I'm a headphone junkie too. I've got a whole bunch of them along the way that we'll go through. The only other, I was going to mention one other feature, but it's unique to, I think it's fairly unique to some of the headphones. Some of the headphones themselves also have safety features. The headphones that right now, the ones that are getting the most use after my standard HD380 Pros are its successor, the HD300. Now, these are the HD300 Protects, and they say Protect on the side instead of just Pro. They say Protect on the side. These have a built-in safety feature that if the sound itself is too loud, it will automatically turn those headphones down to make sure they don't exceed a level that can injure your ears. Under normal circumstances, you probably will never need that feature, but sometimes, especially if you're in the booth and you adjust your headphones or it's up too loud, you can get a feedback loop that can be extraordinarily loud in your headphones. And so right now, these are my preferred headphones after my 380 Pros, which are not don't have the protection circuit. These I do find extremely comfortable. They've got good noise isolation, and I do like that protection feature. There's a little switch that you throw inside if you want to turn that feature on. There's lots of other things to consider about headphones, and along the way we'll talk about those, the different other considerations. But I hope that helps at least start to get you on the right path towards making a selection that's right for you. That's all I have for you today. I hope that helps. So now, go get yourself a set of cans. Any old cans. Maybe some, oh my gosh. Maybe some in-ears, maybe some on-ears, maybe some over-the-ears, maybe whatever it is. Get yourself a set of cans so you can listen to yourself in your microphone and you can record something amazing. Thanks. We'll talk to you next time.